Good evening. This is the December 19th episode of Port Commission. We'll start with the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
President Lorraine.
Here.
Vice President Clute.
She is excused.
Commissioner Lance.
Here.
Sorry. Commissioner Peterson.
Here.
Commissioner Tweet. Here.
All right. Modifications, additions, and changes to the agenda, please.
I'd like to make a modification.
Being recorded.
I'd like to make a modification to number 8. We do not have an executive session this evening.
All right. Thank you very much. Public comment. Is there anybody either here in the audience or online that would like to speak?
No, I don't have anyone.
All right. Special presentations and reports by outside resources, staff, and government official. Got an overview of Columbia Economic Development District. Yes, we got it.
I did bring, since it's the season of giving, if you, we gave out at our annual economic symposium. And we're getting Vegas in the Dallas. You guys can. So we actually, this was an event we actually held at the pavilion. Yeah, thank you for letting me come to Jeremiah and all of you for taking some time today. We've been just chatting about how, since the commission is so new, it's a good opportunity to talk about what it does and how we work together with the Port Commission. So we, you can go to the next slide. So I'm gonna kind of give like an overview of what it does and try to tie it to the board. So we've been around since 1969 to promote the creation of family wage jobs, the diversification of the economic base, and the growth, development, and retention of business and industry within the 5 county district. Next slide. So the 5 counties are Hood River, Wasco, Sherman counties in Oregon, and then Skamania and Clickatack counties in Washington. And again, 1969, the counties came together and said, recognize that the economic base of the entities were very closely linked and decided to form this economic development district. We are actually recognized by the U.S. Economic Development Administration and receive a little bit of regular support from them to develop our comprehensive economic development strategy, which I'll talk about later. But so we have a 22 member board of directors that represents the counties of each of the districts, a representative of each of the cities of each county, a representative of the port. So we do have a seat for the Oregon ports that rotates between all the different Oregon ports. So right now it is held by the Port of Hood River. And then we're coming to Port of Cascade Lock next. And we also have and there's a Washington port seat as well that right now is held by the Port.
How often do they rotate?
Every 2 years, the opportunity comes up. Sometimes the ports can say, we don't, we're fine letting whoever has it take another round. So it doesn't necessarily have to move, but it is every 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next year.
Yeah, so it would be next the fall of 2024, actually, and then it comes up again. Yes, and the Port of Clickatack has the Oregon seat, Washington seat. We also have a representative of each of the chambers. So there's like an Oregon Chambers rep and a Washington Chambers rep. And then we have 8 private sector representatives representing key industries in the region. So we have like healthcare, the community college, agriculture, forestry, high tech, and then a couple of others. And our office is in the Dallas, but we come all over. Next slide. So we really kind of group our work into 3 major focus areas: business assistance, technical assistance, and regional coordination. Next slide. On the business assistance side, we have the strongest piece of what we do there is we have a small business lending program that is able to fund entities that are not, yet ready for bank funding. So we actually do require that they have a bank denial, but we are able to step in and offer really flexible terms, and help show that the business is a good, strong business, and then graduate them to commercial bank funding. So we operate our own loan funds, but then we also manage funds for the Oregon Investment Board. If you've heard of that, is a entity focused on the scenic area, and Mount Hood Economic Alliance. On business assistance, we also sometimes provide business trainings or do business networking events that we call Hub Talks often. To basically help encourage entrepreneurship and help connect entrepreneurs with resources. And then industry clusters. So at different times, we've had the opportunity to work specifically with a cluster, a subsector of our economy, to talk to them about what would be helpful for them to grow. And then to help implement those plans. And so one of the ones we work really closely with is the tech industry. And there's an organization, the Gorge Tech Alliance, that acts like a chamber for the tech businesses, and we help administer that organization. We have some grants right now that are focused on how to help the UAV companies grow, and aerial vehicle companies. We've done some work in the past with wine growers or brewers or different things. So that's just an area where we can do. Also on business assistance, and one of the ways that engages with support is we do administer the enterprise zone program for Hood River County. So that's a contract with Hood River County. The enterprise zone provides a property tax abatement for any traded sector businesses. So you have like Spring, for example, coming into the port can receive a 3, 4, or 5 year, depending on their hiring, how much hiring they plan to do, property tax abatement on the building and any equipment. For a business that, again, that's traded sector that is making something to sell outside. I'm trying to think of other examples that we've had. I know at one point, I think we talked to native cider. But anyway, so we do administer the enterprise.
The lending for the business assistance, it sounded like you had mentioned that you guys are acknowledged by the US government. Is your funding, is it through grants from the government, or is it primarily because of the lending that you do? And
Yeah, so you mean the funding of the organization?
yes,
The whole, the lending program actually only supports itself. So we have one full-time employee that is our loan fund manager, and that position is supported by like interest and fees and whatnot. And so, these are some examples. I think is there another lending, the next slide? We do have, okay, we didn't. But like in Cascade Locks, we've funded Brigham Fish Products, Gorgeous, Thunder Island a while ago. So a lot of these businesses where, again, we help them get started. Our MCAD itself is largely funded by different contracts or grants. We do get, I can kind of talk about that as we go along, like where different things are funded, but. So yeah, some statistics on the lending program. We've actually been doing it since the 80s. This money originally did come from the Fed, but it's revolved. So as folks pay us back, we can just loan it out again. So we've been making loans since the 80s. Go ahead. Oh, and I think that, yeah, so we do have Brigham Fish. We've done everything. We've done medical, restaurants, lodging. We've done professional services, anything you can think of, basically. We also have a very popular micro lending program right now. So for $40,000, it doesn't require full collateralization. So that has been really popular.
Have any of our tenants take advantage of that, just on a man or renewal or any businesses through?
Yes, actually, Renewal Workshop was a client. Thunder Island when they were at the port.
Okay.
We actually worked together on Gorgeous.
Okay.
And helped the port get out of Gorgeous. Thirsty Cafe is also a client.
have you seen over the last couple of years a certain industry, a certain vertical that's actually coming to you more?
No, it's pretty all over the place.
Have you guys, with the new federal CHIPS Act, have you reached out to finding opportunities with kind of like maybe in the tech alliance area? Or exploring
I've sent like some of the funding for semiconductor types of businesses, we've sent information about it onto the companies, but that's as far as it's gotten. We do have a couple of the tech companies in our portfolio, yeah, but not anything with the CHIPS Act.
Yeah, I noticed your counties, they don't cover Clark County, which I think Washugo is really zeroing in on the CHIPS Act right now.
Yeah. Next slide. So on the second part of what we do, technical assistance, most of these are specific contracts. So on the grant administration labor standards, we have expertise in how we try to help if you have a project that you're looking for grant funding, to help apply for those grants and then administer the grants. We've done work with the city of Cascade-Lox's wastewater treatment system that they're just about wrapping up. We administered that. We are on contract to administer their grant for the power system, the electrical upgrades. And so again, that's all contract. Economic development services, that's where we can, again, kind of fill in for economic development. We have contracts specifically with Sherman and Wasco counties to kind of serve as the county economic development person. And so it does a lot more, I'd say, like community development work of like working with some of like the small water districts to help them get those water projects funded so they can keep having houses basically. Or even it could be like Main Street work. And I know that the city of Cascade-Lox is gonna be doing a bunch of Main Street work. We're happy to be there. I think it's great. On the, actually. We do convene a group called the Hood River Economic Development Group, which is the staff level leads of the ports, the two cities, the county, the college, the chamber. And so Jeremiah does participate in that, and there's a small amount of grant or contract funding to help for us to convene that group. We do also on the project management, it does include our support from the Energy Council. So we have staff that serves on the Energy Council, and I know I appreciate the port agreeing to contribute to that effort this year. But that work of so MCED wasn't the entity that worked with all the partners to develop the energy plan, but then the county asked if we would take on the staffing of that, and so we have done that, thinking that whenever we learned from that, we could roll out to the other counties. So we do have some focus work on like renewable energy development, that kind of thing. So that's kind of under the project management services. We also do, yeah, I think I'll leave it at that. Okay, go ahead. I have various notes and things here I cover. On the regional coordination, that is where we develop our regional economic development strategy that I'll go into. We can kind of play a convening role if there is an issue that's affecting more than one entity. We are good at setting the table to all talk about it together. So that's where we've done broadband on transportation planning, really focused on the transit. And actually, if you go to the next slide. So the Gorge TransLink Alliance is an entity that we've been helping convene for about 15 years. It's a collaboration so each county has their own transit provider. And how do we help the systems work well together? How do we develop a fare that works for everybody? And so we have come up with like the Gorge Pass, which is $40 a year and lets you ride all of the bus routes in Wasco, Hood River, Spain, and Quinnipiac counties. So it's an excellent deal. And we worked to develop a regional transit strategy, so a future looking plan for transit in the region. We brought people together to talk about what do they want for the transit system to look like, and then how will we get there. And this is a place where actually the ports can be very supportive of transit, mostly thinking about your bridge and those pieces. And so because that transit system, our workforce and our customers are on both sides of the river. And so how the bridge interacts with the transit system can be a very important way to support the local transit system.
Has there been any conversations about flyaway bus service from like Hood River County to the airport at all?
So actually, the CAT system is designed to really support trips to the airport. You do have to transfer
That gateway?
in the
Yeah.
gateway, yeah. And I think that that's basically to avoid duplication of services, because they felt like if they were then going all the way to the airport, there's other transit providers that are doing it. But I know they really do try to use that service for airport, and I know it is getting used. Next slide. So I mentioned a couple times, the Columbia Gorge economic development strategy is something that we developed as a result of our relationship with the U.S. Economic Development Administration. So I did bring a copy. Every 5 years, we really just say this is developed by the region for the region. So we will invite all of you to participate, and we have a series of monthly meetings that it takes almost a year to get through and talk about really, you know, the SWOT analysis, what is the data and demographics of the region look like, and how does that all inform then like our vision, our goals, and our strategies. So this one was just adopted in 2022. We do have 4 goal areas. Next slide. And the vision. I like to joke that we put all the words in there. I say that.
Oh.
Yeah. There, it's an art. You can go to the next slide, actually. So the goal areas: strong businesses, robust workforce, resilient infrastructure, and powerful regional collaboration. And each one has its own goal statement, and then, as I said, strategies under it. Go to the next slide. So the business goal statement, right, that enhancing business innovation, retention and expansion, and entrepreneurship through equitable access to support services and capital, diversifying our industry mix and enhance coordination to address barriers to growth and sustainability. Next slide. So one of the things I was gonna highlight on this one is because there are, so the plan, when I say it was by the region for the region, it's not just things that MCED would be the lead on even. So each item has a collaborator noted. And so there are a number where it does the ports in particular. On the business one, where we really engage, I'd say like where MCED really engages with the ports in the region is helping develop and enhance access to business space. Strategy number 2, strategy number 5, attract new businesses. So we receive, when the state or locally, there is a call for a business that's looking to site somewhere. And do you have a place to put them? That's where we really lean on the ports to be that response from the region. Business attraction is not really an area that we engage, but that is because that's what our ports are really good at. Actually, so you're okay. And then the increased opportunities for businesses to export products is also a place where they talk about engagement from the ports, because you are also, again, that first step for those traded sector businesses that are making something here and selling it elsewhere. The strategy does kind of talk about what our key industries in the region are. So natural resources and value-added ag, and that's where I see, you know, Bear Mountain Forest Products is a great example. Manufacturing, and especially beverage manufacturing, so cream, some of native cider, and some of these I'm gonna mess up maybe because they might not be on court property, but the tech industry, but and especially the drones, healthcare, which I know you guys do have some healthcare partners in your properties, utilities and renewable energy, and then arts, culture, tourism, recreation. So there's definitely a role for the port in all of those things. One of the other sections I mentioned, the goals of robust workforce, that one really talks about like training, what we're doing to make sure that we have the workforce that we need for our businesses. But new this year, it does also talk about childcare. This was the first time in developing this strategy that the lack of childcare really came up as an economic development problem, which I know you guys know about. In the infrastructure goal, there's actually 4 sub goals. There's one for water, wastewater, one for broadband, one for energy, one for housing, and there's 5, and one for transportation. And so housing actually has been in the economic development strategy for several iterations of this plan, just because it is such a big economic development barrier for the region. The infrastructure goal, though, is one that also where the port shows up a lot. Just to talk about the importance of the port, and so some of the strategies and I know this wasn't in your packet, but coordinate transportation priorities and investments and align planning efforts among the regional partners to support our economy. Support enhancements to regional air, water, and rail infrastructure for cargo and passenger transport, locals and visitors. So that's where your dock is really from this. It talks about how important the docks are for the cruise ships, but then also potentially for cargo, because we know that that is an important piece. Providing safe and complete facilities for bicyclists and pedestrians. And again, you know, your bridge is important. It's one of the few that you can go across. Invest in resiliency for the region to mitigate, adapt, and plan for extreme weather, natural and human caused disasters. And that's where we talk about what protections can we build into maintaining our infrastructure, like the bridge, so that if there is some kind of disaster, that we have the systems in place that we're going to need. Next slide. And the 4th goal is collaboration. Basically, how can we better work together to achieve those other goals? One of the things that shows up every year is, in the way that the port engages, is the strategy has a list of key infrastructure projects at the back of it, and this we do update every year because this list is important to, if you're applying for any kind of grant funding or congressionally directed spending, being on the list is really helpful in showing support. And so we make sure that if a project is on this list, in the next year, they do have a plan to try to go for some kind of funding. And so you can see that we develop a top 10 list for each county. So Jeremiah will help feed projects up to a Hood River County list that then goes, we develop a regional list of top 10 for our Oregon side and top 10 for the Washington side. So the port projects that showed up in the list last year, the bridge has been there for a number of years, but both bridges actually, and we lumped them together so we could fit more time really, but both bridges. And then also the business park infrastructure development has been as one of your higher priorities. Next slide. You can actually, the other slide is, the next slide is the Washington top 10. You can go ahead and skip that. So one of the other things we do is annually we have a big event to talk about what's going on in the regional economy and kind of do a deep dive on one of the industries. So this year we had it at the Pavilion. It's always the first Friday in November. We do put together a newsletter that kind of keeps people up to date with what we're working on, and so that would be a way to hear about this event. If you did not make it. Next slide. So I think, yeah, if you want to sign up for our newsletter, please let me know. We are always looking for businesses interested in our lending programs, and actually we do get good referrals from the port for that, and the enterprise zone program especially. We do receive receive a small amount of, we call them assessments. It's not really dues, but so each of our counties and cities and ports do contribute a small amount to MCED on an annual basis. The port's fee is like $3,500 or so for the year. These are my notes on all the different ways we engage with the port. One of the things I wanted to mention, so I did look at the symposium, we have our local economists talk about what I said, what's been happening in the last year or so. And so I did try to look at that just to see what things I could pull out for you are some of the top jobs producers in Hood River County. And again, it's for the whole county, but agriculture, manufacturing, and healthcare. Some of the fastest growing educational services, construction and manufacturing. But then highest paying, because there's always, where do we have the most jobs, but also where is the most, actual payroll coming from? And that's, information and professional, technical, scientific, business services, that's kind of all one grouping. And then the federal government are some of the highest paying jobs. As Brandon bits of information for you. But I mean, I say, I think that economic development in the region works really well together because we have our areas of focus and know where to pull each other in to work on projects. And, I feel like we've had a really good relationship with the Port of Cascade Locks, and so. I know Jeremiah calls me and I call him, and so just happy to support you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Has anybody taken advantage of the CPACE funding?
No, and they have not. So that's another thing. We did, it was kind of like the enterprise zone, where Hood River County adopted the CPACE program. Commercial, it's an incentive, well, it's called Commercial Property Assessed Clean Energy. And so it's a funding mechanism for commercial properties to fund like renewable energy or energy efficiency upgrades, or even seismic, actually, the state allowed seismic. And the county has to agree that it meets the rules, and then the business has to go find an outside lender. And it's something that, the county, and then we were helping to really put into place, thinking about the data center potential in Cascade Locks. They were definitely gonna need that. And so we did put the program in place, but we have not had any, applications. Besides the data center, we have talked to a couple hotels, because hotels
That seems
actually,
like a really good program.
yeah.
I mean, the opportunity with that is pretty awesome.
Yeah, so it's, low interest, long-term financing, the financing stays with the property. So even if you sell the property, yeah, so it is a good tool for commercial property owners.
So if I'd like more information about, your lending services for businesses, that I can sign up for your newsletter,
Yeah.
and maybe email you directly to see.
Yeah, that would be
Or
great.
do you have a website or something that has all of them?
Yeah, so, yeah, mega.org, I will, I'll also pass that as a card. But we do have a lending page, a financing page right on the website.
Thank you.
Yeah, I took your grant workshop
Oh, yeah,
last spring for a nonprofit, and it was very helpful.
so
So,
that's great.
yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of people interested in exploring that, because it can be kind of confusing about what kind of reports you need for applying for a grant and stuff, so.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
I have, I'm sorry.
You know, Flex is Ann Mettenbach.
You know, and I have, we couldn't make this meeting, I have her updated in the packet.
So we'll strike that one as well.
I can mention what's in the packet, that she's had a couple of calls, followed up with email, both by emails, no conversations yet. She's got 5 brokers who are looking at slight uptick in activity. I've also had a couple of interested parties I've talked to here in the last couple of weeks. We'll be showing the building January 11th to a larger group of folks. I think there's gonna be 12 of us out there taking a look at it. That's exciting. And then another opportunity that is still somewhat developing, but would also be a really cool business to have out there. So still early days in both of those conversations, but certainly being glad to have.
Thank you.
Excellent. All right, consent agenda. Approved minutes of commission meeting on November 21st, 2023 and December 5th, 2023 for application of bills in the amount of $161,934.69. Approval of payroll for 12/4/2023 in the amount of $41,506.20.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda. As stated.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as stated. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Business action items. Commission Finance Subcommittee appointment of 2 commissioners.
So we talked about this at the last meeting. It's officially made the agenda here. We've got Matt Apkin with us from Marina and Co. Matt's been working with the port for about a year now, came on when we to help us with the audit, and then also played a large role in putting the budget together, helping Chuck work through that. As we know, we have removed, we no longer have the accounting position on staff. And so we have consulted all out to Marina and Co. Matt is doing a tremendous amount of work in getting us up to the standards that we expect to be at and that this commission expects. So I wanted to have him in here today. He helped me put together the tasks on this as well as the charge for that commission. I mean, for that subcommittee. I know this isn't, I think, and you've met Matt before because you run the budget committee last year, but I think maybe this is the first time the rest of us have got to meet Matt. So hello, Matt. Just wanted to make a quick introduction.
I think I heard you want me to give a short introduction. So I'm Matt Apkin. I've been at Marina and Company for the past 2 years. Previous to that, I was the finance director for the city of Lebanon. I went through their budget process about 5 times, audit process that many times. Previous to that, I was an auditor with the same firm I work with now. And so I've got a lot of experience working with municipalities of all sizes. And it's been great to work with Jeremiah and with Melissa, and just looking forward to continuing the great work that we've started and to get the port where they need to be.
Matt's actually going to be a guest speaker at the SDAO conference in February, talking about audits, I think. So we're happy to have him on our team. We know we've got the right person. So we also are excited to include the subcommittee in watching this process unfold. I know there's been a lot of folks on this side that have been looking for to see some results, and the results that we have right now is progress. And so to have 2 commissioners sit in and be able to report back on that progress and watch that progress unfold and be a part of that, I think is going to be really valuable. So we're excited to do it. And I know that there's been a couple of folks that are interested in Rob and Commissioner Tweed both said that that's something that they have time for in their schedule. Rob as a treasurer absolutely makes sense. And Pamela, because she has the time.
Well, that's one thing we need to talk about.
We will, yeah, we'll work around whatever works for you guys. So we can read through this if you want. That was sort of an explanation of it. We're glad to read through it. If you want to ask any questions about the tasks, or we have some questions that you might want to run past Matt tonight, or we can just move into approving it. I know it's something you guys wanted, so.
Okay. I have no specific questions, other than what we've been over already.
Hey, Matt, can you give us an update on getting caught up on our audits? I know we're behind right now, but it's a process we're working through, and we put some dates together. I think we've even done some scheduling, so I know we've made some strong moves there.
Yeah, absolutely. So currently we are just waiting for the auditors to kind of finish up what they need to on their side to issue the fiscal year June 30, 2021 audit. Really not sure what's taking them as long as it has, but we're working with them to try and answer any and every question they have so that they can finish that up. We've also scheduled to do both the 22 and 23 audits at the same time in March. We've got it scheduled between March 18th and the 29th that we'll have the auditors on site at some point during that time to review what they need to review, provide them all the information that they need so that they can turn around and have all the information and hopefully in a reasonable amount of time complete those audits and issue those financial statements, which would then allow us to be on schedule for the fiscal year 2024 audit, which has a state deadline of December 31st, 2024. So we're hoping with everything that we've kind of started at this point that we can get there. We've started, like in 2021, we started doing capital asset reconciliations. We've got those ready to move forward into 22 and 23. We did a lot of work on debt, trying to figure out what the accrued interest needed to be, working with the Business Oregon to understand some of the loans that were outstanding that didn't have repayment schedules, to get those figured out and what the interest owed on those were. We're in the process of reconciling kind of the final trial balance from the 2021 audit to what's in QuickBooks to make sure that everything is matching appropriately, and making any journal entries that the auditors felt needed to be made. Then we're also kind of starting to reconcile the balance sheet accounts for the 2022 and 2023 audits, make sure that we go through each one of those accounts, understand what's there, if it's not clearing out appropriately, why it's not, what's remaining in those balances. So that way we can make sure that everything is exactly what it needs to be to complete those audits.
Thank you for
Good news.
Godspeed.
You thought it.
You guys excited to jump into that?
I look forward to learning more.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting, to be honest with you. Government accounting is an interesting world.
Mhm.
At the bottom of page 2, there's a recommended motion if we're interested in moving forward with this.
Did you guys do the motion and still be on the committee? I need you.
Yeah, that probably works.
All right. I'll move to establish the Finance Commission subcommittee and appoint commissioners. Noted.
We have a second on that.
Okay.
So we have a second to establish the finance subcommittee and one, two commissioners. All those in favor? Aye. Now we need to talk about which commissioners.
He noted them. He said as noted.
As okay. I'm
Yep.
sorry. Okay, fantastic.
Awesome. We will be reaching out to you here shortly to start talking about scheduling with the network.
A balance of checkbook is involved.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it.
Bye, Matt.
Thanks so much.
Thank you guys. Have a good night.
Me too.
Okay, all right. I guess that's it. We have executive director report.
I'm really excited to have my staff back. We had a bout of sickness that went through last week, and these folks are soldiering through this week. So I appreciate that they're back in the office. It was awfully quiet without both of you. Glad to have you back.
He's saying you guys talk a lot.
It's really quiet.
We have working tape around that's there.
We're in it together.
Okay.
So.
Okay, good.
I did have Dan Marr working in the office last week, stopped by a couple times, worked from the office, I think twice last week, once for a couple hours and then one for most of the day. I'm happy to announce him and his company, Marr Strategies, is the board's new lobbyist. We spent some time last week basically just onboarding him, talking about what the board's strategies were, where I kind of thought you guys were headed with your strategic business plan. He certainly wants to be a part of that. The more eloquently he can speak about what you guys are thinking, the easier his job becomes. So he'll be a part of our strategic business plan, and moving forward with our ask on the bridge. So we're excited to have him. I had a meeting with Extapa sometime last week or the week before. Meeting with Extapa, they pitched some unexpected expenses for having for an architect for the project around electrical and around plumbing. The plumbing is very specific to the needs that they have for their business. I don't know that that's really a place that we're going to be able to be that helpful, nor probably with the architect. Some of the things the architect is spotting though within the electrical system, it probably would have been fair for them to have updates on the status of those electrical components before they took over this project. So that's a place where we can be helpful. During the budget season, we talked about doing a remodel out at that BC anyway. So we put some money to the side for that. So they'll come to us sometime in January when me and Parker had a chance to wrap our heads a little bit more around what it is exactly they want to be electrical. but they can kind of explain that to us. It was a bit of a surprise, but as much money as they're investing, I certainly want to see us be a good partner. The plumbing upgrades alone that they're doing are like $55,000. They've already got all their benches in there, they've got the big electrical sign, they're full steam ahead. This was just, the electrical was a bit more than they were expecting. And I think it's probably somewhere in the $30,000 range that they'll be talking to us about. We'll try to have them in January. We participated in the fire engine parade, and I really want to thank Chief Logan for that. I'm actually a little embarrassed, because I just called him. I was like, hey, do you have Santa? And he was like, no. I was like, oh, we'll be there with Santa. And he was like, okay, like I gave him no option. And then we show up and I'm the only one that's not a fire engine. And I'm like, oh, I invited myself to a party, but it was really good. It was fun to see the kids, and we certainly appreciate Captain Tom for his participation, and George Ramirez, who dressed up as Buddy the Elf and escorted Santa around. So that was a good time. And thank you, thank you, Chief Logan, for letting us hone in and steal some of your limelight. It really didn't dawn on me. I just was all of a sudden between only engines, and I was like, oh, one of these things doesn't belong. Got it. Let's see here. Genevieve Scholl will be starting with the port as our new deputy director starting this January 2nd. So we're excited to have her. She will definitely usher in many of the changes that this commission is looking to make, as well as be a huge part of our strategic business plan. I'm excited for y'all to get to meet her and spend time with her. She will be a part of these meetings. She will have a seat somewhere at this round table. So, if anybody has any questions, I'm glad to answer.
All right, about the strategic business plan.
Yeah.
Has everyone spoken with Moss Adam?
I spoke with him today.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Do we know the timing on that?
Have you spoken with him? yet?
Yes.
Okay.
We talked about this at the last meeting.
January.
January 27th and 28th, so the Saturday and Sunday.
It's a Friday evening and Saturday, all day Saturday, right?
Saturday and Sunday.
It's a Saturday, is what we did. I think we were trying to get, yeah, for folks not have to take time off from work.
Pretty much, all day on Saturday and,
All day on Saturday and whatever we need on Sunday.
oh, and yeah, that's right, Saturday and Sunday.
And I think I haven't locked it down yet. I think we'll do it at Gorgeous like we did previously. We've done it a number of different places, but they have access to the food, right? I'm gonna do it in Stern there. Be cold though, probably. Stern is kind of chilly. Yeah, probably Gorgeous.
Yeah. Should be good.
Is there anything that we need to, other than our opinions, is there anything that we need to come prepared with?
Just your opinions.
Okay.
Just your opinions.
Right.
Your opinions will very much go to the strategic business plan, and within that strategic business plan will be the things that I need to know in order to move those things forward. So, just sort of your opinions.
Okay. Okay. And could you remind me, strategic business plan is for how long?
5 years.
5 years. Okay.
I think they like this stuff. It's required, I think it's required every 8 and they like it updated every 5. Is that
But it's
right?
reviewed every year.
Yeah, yes, we review it every year.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's opinions and thoughts on strategic business plan for the port specifically, not the city, but the port
Support
for the next 5 years.
for the next 5 years.
Then we review it, we like update, like you put in an X, Y, Z, and then, okay, this is done, we're not gonna, you know.
Or we're not doing this,
Hopefully there
or
will
this
be a
doesn't fit,
significant
this
amount.
doesn't fit anymore, or,
Right.
yeah.
Hopefully there will be a significant amount of dovetailing between, the city's strategic business plan and ours, because, you know, the more that strategic business plan can, reflect a, light direction, the more we're gonna get out of it, so.
Right.
And they just completed
And
it.
I think they are, I think they just completed theirs, so.
And Moss Adams has gotten a copy from Jordan on that, so they were doing that as part of the work that they're putting in.
Great.
And that's my expectation anyway, you know, I just had my talk with, them today and, we ran a little over, you know, I don't typically pontificate too much, but, I did, you know, I obviously have ideas and, you know, they're a dime a dozen of them, But, yeah, anyway, it was great. So it was interesting. I'll go ahead and start first. We're on to commissioner comments now, so I'll just go ahead and start, unlike usually. So it was interesting. We had, dinner with some friends, this week. And got into a kind of a spirited conversation, and what it did for me was just kind of punctuated the fact that people don't understand what the port's function is or the necessity of ports. So we got into this discussion there from Hood River, and it had some real arguments of just like the port in general, and just said ports, you know, they own all this property and they make all this money and they, you know, hold all these people with leases and all of this sort of stuff. They don't pay any taxes. So I had to correct them on a number of different parts of, you know, and if it wasn't the port should not own property and shouldn't own businesses and et cetera. And I said, well, that's exactly what a port's function is supposed to be. And, you know, brought up ORS 777, the statute that gives ports their authority. And it's also, it gives them their walking orders as far as their direction. And I just kind of pointed out the fact that, you know, this beautiful waterfront they have down there, and that was a big component of contention that they didn't put any money in their bridge and they spent all this money anyway. I just kind of corrected him on all of that kind of stuff and said, the whole reason that the businesses are down there is, first of all, the port put up all the money for all of the infrastructure and putting in businesses. Most businesses can't spend $2 million and spend 2 years. Most businesses want a turnkey building to move into it. Buddies had to go build a building and all that. Few businesses would start, and you also don't want necessarily a business driving the direction of your community, as we talked about. If a big business comes in and then drives and sets the direction for your community, it's the port that helps set the direction for your community, because the community has stake in the direction. So that's kind of what I talked about when we did our strategic business plan, was let's start with the direction, where we're headed and where we want to end up, and then work backwards from there. So, you know, it was just kind of a nice point to me that I think people in our community probably don't understand how much money that the port puts into the community. Yes, we make money, but we're a government nonprofit. Essentially 100% of our money goes back into the community via the park or other types of things, infrastructure investments and that sort of thing. But it really just pointed out for me is, obviously he's fairly well educated and just didn't understand the overarching job that ports do, or what they're supposed to do, or things that would not happen. You know, any of the businesses that we have here in the community, many of them would not exist if we hadn't have put up the money to build the buildings, put in the infrastructure, and all of that before any businesses come. And a lot of them, before even businesses came and said, we want a building, we just know we had to have a building to get a business. So anyway, I'm off of my soapbox, but it was just kind of an interesting point to have that debate with him and be able to say, okay, no, that's exactly what they're supposed to do. So anyway, there's probably none of that waterfront would exist in Hood River if they were waiting for businesses to go and buy the property and do it. But they owned all the property and developed it. He also didn't think the ports paid any taxes because they're all tax exempt. I said, well, no, because once they develop the property and then somebody moves into it, then they have to pay the taxes, whether it's the port or whether it's the lessee of the property. So they're only tax exempt on vacant property. So anyway, they do bring property taxes into the community once the, you know, built businesses are there. So anyway, it was interesting.
I think that's fair. I think the port is always looking for an opportunity to educate the public on what we do. Not to keep tooting Genevieve Scholl's horn, but she is amazing at communication. Has been in the port industry a long time and will be really good at that, I believe. I don't think this community and most communities understand what a big opportunity it is to have a port whose sole function is economic development. You have the cities that are struggling to provide services. You have the counties that right? They can when they can, but an entity especially for a city of our size, that's our whole driving mission. And then have supporting agencies like McCaddy was here, and Business Org and some of those folks. They're really, it is a really big thing for this little town.
You make a good point. I mean, you go up and down the street or even in our core areas, there's very few for new business to come in, and we're full, we're everywhere except for Flex 6, right? And they're incredibly limited on the amount of or which companies would be able to come in at Flex 6. So it's, I mean, it's definitely part of our strategic business plan of like, what do we do in the coming years to help support more businesses to be able to even find a space to be here in Cascade Rocks. Yeah, I mean, even down on Port, like extend the Extapa building or whatever that is, to do something down there, that'd be phenomenal.
And the neat thing about the strategic business plan is, it's not just about building buildings, it's about, creating synergy, because, kind of the snowball effect, if you get, part of the strategic business plan is developing, getting something to happen so that other businesses then will want to come into that area and get things moving in a positive direction. So, you know, that's why, that's so critical about, and I think, I guess that's why they call it a strategic business plan, because we're going to strategically look at what things can we do in the community, whether it's housing on the west side of town or revitalization of the downtown core, or whether it's industrial and recreation development on the east side to help get the ball moving. So.
Brad, it's also good to note that just for the 4 buildings or the 5 buildings that are full this year, not Flex 6, but that would even be more, the check I took to Hood River County, I always take it and hand deliver for the property taxes, except during COVID when you had to mail them, but was over $58,000 back to the community of Hood River County, and the port only receives less than 5,000 of that 58,000. So Hood River County gets a lot of revenue from those 5 buildings.
Wow.
Excellent. Thanks for contributing to
Yeah.
that. You all, it's your turn.
I'll go next. I wasn't here the last meeting, so I wasn't able to see this then, so I'll see it now. Thanks to everyone that helped out with getting the light stuff and done. It's been super wonderful to see that. I know that my daughter wants me to drive to every night to see the lights. She had her favorite, and so it was really just cool to see, like, I not only her, but a lot of other people like enjoying it within the community. So I just wanted to say thanks to everyone that had a part in that. It was great. I also want to say congratulations on the new position, Sarah. Yes. And I was out of town for the fire station parade, but it sounds like we made a splash.
Everybody was really great, and it was great to have Santa, and I just didn't realize it until I was there. It was too late. Everybody was being nice to me.
Yeah. And I know there's been a lot of change with the board over the recent couple of weeks, but I'm really excited to see what there's gonna kind of come out of that. And,
Well, people who know, that we've talked to in the area that know what we're doing and, bringing Dan Marr on board and, hiring Genevieve, they said, oh crud, you guys are, putting together the A team. So that's high marks, you know, kudos to Jeremiah for putting that together. See what happens when we let, the executive director do what he does and, not try to micromanage that.
and then finally, I'll just say, happy holidays and happy New Year to everyone.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Holidays. With that,
Thank you, Albert.
Commissioner Pearson.
Yeah, thank you for getting all the light pictures together. I think I recognize the new picture up there. Driving back from Washington into Oregon, I guess there's 2 nutcrackers when you're approaching the toll booth gate, so I thought that was pretty cool. You couldn't really make it out during the day what they were, but keep an eye out for that. I went to the hometown Christmas event in town. It was a lot of fun, a lot of great vendors there. It was really neat to see how the city and port both kind of handed it out to the community and see what came together, and it was a very successful event. I think it's gonna happen even better next year, so. This week, I think there's a bazaar at some of the businesses in town, so stay tuned for that. And then the Stern Wheeler also has, I think, a Christmas Eve and a New Year's Eve event, so you can look at reserving RSVPing for those events if you like. As far as everything else, I hope everybody has a good holiday, and you know, hopefully we don't get too much snow. We can still drive around and have some fun out there, so.
It's not even the holiday yet, I gained 5 pounds.
Oh, and also, thank you, Jeremiah, too, because he's made some really good structural organizational moves in the port, and I feel that we're gonna have a very strong beginning into 2024. So thank you.
I am very excited about the strategic plan, so I'm looking forward to working on that. Very thankful to Jeremiah for putting together a new port, really. I mean, we still got the same folks, but it's gonna be operations operating differently, so I'm very excited about that. Happy New Year to everyone, happy holidays. And that's it.
Excellent. Something I forgot to mention in my report, we were kicking around potentially skipping the January 2nd meeting. The court will close the day before that meeting. That also is Genevieve's first day. Might be nice to get her feet wet a little bit and spend some more time with her. I think it might be a struggle to put a packet together in a meeting for you guys that's ready.
So we will need a motion. We will need a motion for that, potentially, and we may have a Zoom meeting,
There's the
at
potential
some
that
later date in the week.
there's a potential that I'll need to call a special meeting. It'll be an executive session. We can happily do it over Zoom.
Probably be fairly short, just kind of an update.
I'm happy to make a motion, we cancel the January 2nd meeting. We only have 1 month technically, right?
I'll second that motion to cancel the January 2nd meeting.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to cancel the January 2nd meeting of the Port of Cascade Locks. So all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Guess we're good.
You guys good with that? You guys agree?
Yeah, I was not going to be here, so I get back on the night second, so we're taking a week off, heading down the coast and seeing the kids and the grandkids. Yeah. But thank you for attending, and we'll see you at the next installment.